B&M has become one of the best manufacturers in the roller coaster industry, producing large capacity rides that are extremely reliable. And they produce coasters that range from among the tallest in the world to inversion machines. But how did they get to where they are today? I would argue that they are perhaps the most successful manufacturer, installing multiple coasters around the world every year. In this video, we will take a look at the history of B&M and how they have become the reliable GP magnet that parks love. In the 1970s, Walter Bolliger and Claude Mabillard were hired at Giovanola, a Swiss company that manufactured parts for Intamin. While working for Giovanola, they helped design Shockwave at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which was the company's first ride of its type, along with many other rides. In 1987, Giovanola had a change of management, which caused Bolliger and Mabillard to leave the company and start their own. In the very early stage of the company, B&M only had 4 employees, the founders along with 2 draftsmen. Even though they left the company, Giovanola still used the box spine track design on the only 3 coasters they ever manufactured, including Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain and Titan at Six Flags Over Texas. After Bolliger and Mabillard left Giovanola, they had agreed not to manufacture any amusement rides. However, the staff engineer at Six Flags Great America asked them to relocate and reconfigure the cars for a bobsled coaster from Six Flags Great Adventure. They took on this project, which is what led to Great America adding 2 B&M coasters over the next several years and helping them get their start in the industry. After they were finished with this first project, Great America asked for another one, this one being larger than the first. The project would be Iron Wolf, B&M's first coaster. After accepting, they would hire 2 more draftsmen. However, they had a problem regarding manufacturing the track pieces. They decided to reach out to Clearmont Steel Fabricators, who had previously worked on Vortex at Kings Island and Shockwave at Magic Mountain. Even to this day, Clearmont Steel Fabricators manufactures all of B&M's track pieces. Iron Wolf would open as a stand-up coaster in 1990. The coaster was relocated to Six Flags America in 2012, and in 2019 it was given the floorless treatment and renamed Firebird. Even though Firebird is a mediocre coaster today, it's still a cool piece of roller coaster history. In 1991, B&M would manufacture the Trains for Cyclone, a Din Corporation wooden coaster located at Magic Mountain. This is another coaster with an interesting history. In 1994, the Northridge earthquake would damage the coaster, leading to modifications, including trim brakes and repairs to the damaged structure. In 2006, Cyclone ranked 178 out of 179 wooden roller coasters in a survey. In 2007, the ride would be removed to make room for Apocalypse. For October of the 2014 season, the trains would be moved to Colossus and the trains ran backwards on one side of the coaster. 2 years after Iron Wolf opened, Great America would add another B&M coaster, this one being Batman the Ride, the world's first inverted coaster to feature inversions. This coaster is really where B&M started to get a foothold in the coaster industry. At the time, the inverted coaster was a revolutionary and innovative concept. There had been nothing like it besides aero-suspended coasters, but those didn't have inversions and the cars could sway underneath the track. And the reception to this attraction was exceedingly positive, and it led to a mad dash of parks wanting to install B&M inverts. The ones that could afford one, got one. The ones that couldn't got a Vekoma SLC. This was basically a cheap knockoff invert that consisted of a cloned layout at every installation. Their next coaster would be the stand-up coaster Vortex at Carowinds, which would open in the same year as Batman and would be their second stand-up coaster. Flight Deck, formerly known as Top Gun, would open at California's Great America in 1993. The first major record-breaking coaster B&M would develop was Kumba, which also opened in 1993. It was announced in late 1992 and opened a couple of months later on April 21 of 1993. This was to become Busch Gardens Tampa's signature attraction, as it was the tallest, fastest, and longest coaster in Florida. It also opened with the world's tallest vertical loop, a title that would be taken by Dragon Con in 1995. Kumba is still running 30 years later, and many hail it as the best creation by old school B&M, and it is certainly one of the best looking coasters in the world. Another record-breaking attraction would be announced on September 1st, 1993 during a press conference. This would become Raptor at Cedar Point, their largest inverted coaster to date. Cedar Point management said Raptor will be the most exciting and ambitious project ever, a project that will challenge the boundaries of imagination and change the Sandusky amusement park like nothing before it. Construction started on the ride after the 1993 season. They would remove the Mill Race log flume and relocate the Midway Carousel and Calypso to other areas of the park. Concrete was poured in October of 1993, with the lift hill being topped off in December of the same year. Trains started testing in March of the following year. An entrance plaza was built and 85,000 square feet of Midway was also replaced during that same month. Media Day was held on May 6th, with the ride opening the next day. Raptor was another resounding success for B&M, and it paved the way for even larger inverts, such as Alpengeist at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa. Between 1994 and 1995, development began on the floorless and dive models. In 1995, DragonCon would open at Portaventura in Spain. This was a massive project, and would be the first coaster to hit 8 inversions, and it took the record for the world's tallest vertical loop. It held on to the inversion record until 2002, when the Intamin creation Colossus opened at Thorpe Park with 10 inversions. In 1998, the company unveiled one of its most popular models, the dive coaster, with Oblivion at Alton Towers. It would be the first ever dive coaster, and it was advertised as the world's first vertical drop coaster. The ride would ascend the lift hill before making a right turn into the drop. A brake would hold the train above the 87.5 degree, 180 foot drop. It wasn't possible to make a 90 degree drop because the trains didn't have spring-loaded wheel assemblies. It wasn't until 2005 that a dive coaster would have a 90 degree drop, when Sheikar was built at Busch Gardens Tampa. In 2007, Griffon would be the first dive coaster to open with floorless trains. Shortly after, Sheikar would have its trains replaced with floorless trains as well. A year after they debuted the dive coaster, they would also release the floorless coaster, with Bizarro, now known as Medusa, at Six Flags Great Adventure. The ride was announced in January of 1999 and would open in April of that year. The coaster was part of a $42 million expansion that would include 3 different coasters. This is just my personal opinion, but I think that I find the floorless coaster to be one of my least favorite models from B&M. Sure, there are some great ones, such as Superman Krypton Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, but I don't find the floorless aspect adds anything to the ride experience. In that same year, they would also open their first 2 hypercoasters, Apollo's Chariot at Busch Gardens Williamsburg and Raging Bull at Six Flags Great America. Apollo's Chariot technically opened first, and so is the first B&M hypercoaster. This coaster was announced on September 5, 1998 as the tallest and fastest coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. The ride opened almost 7 months later on March 27, 1999. For opening day, the park brought an Italian fashion model in to promote the ride. On the ride's inaugural run, a goose struck him in the face. He was taken to a local hospital for minor cuts. Other than this one incident, the ride has been well received by the public. This abundance of floater airtime had never really been seen before the B&M Hyper. Although the ride had positive reviews, the park had lower than expected attendance levels in its opening year. This was caused by long periods of inclement weather. This caused the park to relaunch the coaster in 2000 to drive attendance levels back up. Also in 1999, they would construct Incredible Hulk, which was their first launch coaster they had produced. In 1991, plans began for a new theme park that would sit adjacent to Universal Studios Florida. By 1993, one of the islands at this park would be Marvel themed. Hulk was chosen as a theme of a major thrill ride. The designers of the coaster wanted to simulate being shot out of a cannon, so they began developing a prototype launch system for the coaster. Although the ride was built by B&M, they did not create the launch system. That project was handed over to Universal Creative and MTS Systems Corporation. The prototype launch system was designed in 1995. Construction of the park and coaster began in 1997. The coaster would open in 1999 with the park as one of its major attractions. Islands of Adventure would also open with another B&M creation, this one being Dueling Dragons. This was a dueling inverted coaster with 2 different tracks that offered completely different layouts. At certain points during the ride, the trains would fly past each other in very close proximity. In 2011, there were 2 accidents caused by loose articles on this ride. This caused the park to dispatch the trains separately. Now that the ride had lost its main feature, it began to lose a little bit of popularity. By 2017, rumors began to swirl about its removal. Those rumors became reality on July 24, 2017, when the park announced the ride's removal and replacement. By late September, the entire ride was scrapped. Its replacement, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, would open 2 years later on June 13, 2019. Dueling Dragons is one of the defunct coasters I would have liked to have experienced the most, as it was a very unique coaster whose experience has not been recreated in North America. Overall, 1999 was an extremely successful year for B&M, as they would add 8 different coasters and debut 3 different models. In 2002, Alton Towers added Air, now known as Galactica, a B&M flying coaster. It was the first B&M flying coaster and B&M's 7th different model. This ride would continue their run of innovation from 1999. B&M continued to add multiple coasters every year, their most notable being the extremely themed Black Mamba at Phantasialand, the Monster Flying Coaster in Tatsu at Magic Mountain, and Diamondback at Kings Island, which is widely regarded as one of their best hypercoasters. By 2010, B&M had 26 employees, including 12 engineers. In 2011, the Wing Coaster would debut with the opening of Raptor at Gardaland. Development on the coaster started 4 years earlier in 2007. The coaster was announced as a prototype wing coaster in 2010. On March 15, 2012, Merlin Entertainments added a wing coaster to one of their parks, this being the Swarm at Thorpe Park. In the United States, the first wing coaster to be announced was X-Flight at Six Flags Great America, but Wild Eagle at Dollywood would actually open 3 months before X-Flight on March 24, 2012. Also in 2012, Canada's Wonderland opened Leviathan, the first B&M Giga coaster. In the early stages of the coaster, B&M declined the offer to make a coaster over 300 feet, but Walter Bolliger said that he owed the park because they didn't build them an inverted coaster several years earlier. In early 2011, construction began around the Dragonfire attraction. Canada's Wonderland would tease the ride for almost 2 months before finally announcing Leviathan on August 18, 2012. The park would host an auction to be one of the riders on the inaugural ride of the coaster. They raised over 40,000 Canadian dollars, which was to be donated to the Hospital for Sick Children. The ride officially opened on May 6, 2012. At the time, it was the 5th tallest roller coaster in the world, at a height of 306 feet. B&M considered the project to be essentially a scaled-up hypercoaster, but they would incorporate more elements to showcase the speed of the Giga coaster, rather than just airtime-focused elements. In September of 2012, plans for another Giga coaster would start. It was estimated that this ride would cost around $30 million. This would lead to the creation of Fury 325 at Carowinds, which we will talk about later. In 2013, Steel Dragon 2000, the world's longest coaster, which is located at Nagashima Spa Land in Japan, got new trains, and for some reason, they got B&M trains. This is why the trains look really weird. The ride was manufactured by Morgan, but it has B&M trains, which are only 2 seats across, which is very rare for a B&M coaster. Fury 325 was announced on July 22, 2014. It is the largest coaster B&M has ever built, and is widely regarded as its best. Its combination of sense of speed, airtime, and intensity ranked it among the best steel coasters in the world. It has won the Golden Ticket Award for Best Steel Coaster every year for the last 6 years. Throughout the next 6 years, B&M continued to add bigger and better coasters, improving on each of their existing models. They would add the tallest dive coaster, Yukon Striker, in 2019, and a Giga coaster to Kings Island in 2020 with Orion. Yes, Orion is a Giga coaster. The drop is 300 feet. That makes it a Giga. It's simple. In 2022, SeaWorld Orlando announced Pipeline, the reimagined stand-up coaster, which has actually just launched. I personally don't think that this model will have the success of their earlier models, but I don't think that it will totally flop either. There aren't that many parks that need a ride like this. The parks that would buy one already have a stand-up coaster. This ride has had positive reviews, but I'm just not sure how much of a success it will be from a business model standpoint. I definitely think that in the near future, B&M will come out with another smash hit ride model, just like their inverts and hypers. Everyone hates on B&M for lacking innovation and not being willing to take risks, but I think that they have come out with plenty of new models over the years. In the 30 years of B&M's existence, they have not had a single catastrophic accident. Overall, B&M is one of the most successful coaster manufacturers out there. They are known for creating reliable capacity monsters that the GP absolutely love, and have a wide variety of models that each deliver a different ride experience. Some enthusiasts hate on this manufacturer for making forceless, gimmicky rides and not taking enough risks, but this company is responsible for the inverted coaster, breaking the inversion record with Dragon Con, and has built the last 3 Giga coasters, including the tallest coaster in the world with a lift hill. They have found their niche, and they continue to flourish in this role. I'm excited to see what they have for us in the future. Since you've made it this far in the video, please consider subscribing or at least dropping a like. It's free and really does help the channel out. Thank you for all watching, and I hope to see you next time.